Hey, everybody. Most of you know that Pam Bondi is the Attorney General of the United States of America. What you don't know is that she's on the enemies list for a reason. Pam Bondi was picked for this job for one reason. Well, two reasons, really. The first is that she's a lobbyist for a guy named Brian Ballard, who is one of the most powerful lobbyists that you've never heard of. He runs a multi-billion-dollar lobbying enterprise, and Pam was one of his key people for a long time. Brian was very close to Trump, and Brian recognized something in Trump, that Trump's a poonhound, that he likes a blonde, that he likes a skinny blonde with big titties. I'm not saying that as a sexist. I'm saying that because I know how lobbyists work. You'd be shocked how many times that you've seen this play out in states where the crusty political hack lobbyist happens to always have an assistant who is 23, who's blonde, who's pretty, who's put together, who wears lovely, lovely, lovely clothes, and who thinks that that state senator or that congressman or that U.S. senator is just the tallest, handsomest man she's ever met. She can't believe how attracted she is to him. It's a song as old as time. But one of the reasons Pam Bondi went to work for Brian Ballard was that she was gorgeous, at least by the standards of, what Trump likes. Pam Bondi, I've known Pam Bondi for a long time. She was a assistant state attorney, in Tampa. Prosecutor, not terrible at her job, but not a rock star. But again, photogenic, appealing. So Brian Ballard hires her after she's the Attorney General of Florida, and she gets on the Trump beat. She was part of the election fraud that the Trump administration tried to pull off in 2020. She kept her face on Fox News a lot. She was at Mar-a-Lago a lot. But she knew Donald Trump before all that. She knew Donald Trump way back when Trump University was engaged in a rampant, massive fraud against its students. By that, I mean its suckers, who believed they were going to learn from Donald Trump and receive a university degree from Trump University, which, by the way, if you came to me and said, hey, we can give you a degree from one of two schools. One is the old Bob the Sterno bum crackhead living behind the bus station university, or the other is Trump University. I'm hanging out with old Bob the Sterno bum behind the bus station. Because, of course, those degrees weren't worth the paper they were printed on. He was being forced to pay large settlements in many states. Tristan Snell can talk to you about this at length, because it was a total fraud from top to bottom. Florida, one of the largest states, where there is a fairly strong anti-fraud statute, somehow never decided to prosecute those cases, never decided to take those up. Who was the Attorney General then? Why, it was Pam Bondi, who got a $25,000 check from Donald Trump during the window in which the prosecutions were ongoing everywhere else in the country. Now, lest you think Donald Trump is the only person who ever paid off Pam Bondi, think again. Florida is, sadly, the home of a large portion of the Scientology operation. And these people they're bad, bad people. Rampant fraud, abuse, even manslaughter cases around Scientology in the last 25 years in the state of Florida, murder cases of people that they basically tortured to death. And Scientology is based out of Clearwater, Florida, right across the bay from where Tampa is, where Bondi used to live. But lest you think Trump's the only person that ever paid her off, somehow, when she was running for Attorney General, very wealthy Scientologists started doing fundraisers for her. Very, very wealthy Scientologists. There were a lot of them. And somehow, she completely lost interest in those cases. It just disappeared. Whoosh. She also, during the financial crisis, was investigating, on paper, a big sort of payday loan company, this lending company. And oh my gosh, after a couple of donations and a couple of fundraisers, those cases just disappeared. Isn't that a miracle? Look, there's a pattern here, and I could go on and on and on. There are a lot more cases. Her obligation to the office was higher than an ethical obligation. I never understood it quite, but I do now, because she's in the perfect position to ignore the ethical responsibilities of being an attorney, particularly an attorney general, in order to achieve the political outcomes that Trump wants, or her other clients in the past have wanted, because they are clients at that point. They are people who are giving her money to achieve an end. There's a word for that, but I'm not going to say it right now. I know that people have a hard time reconciling this key fact about Florida. We are quite literally the most corrupt state in the country. You think, New Jersey, Louisiana, no. No. Florida is head and shoulders above every other state in corruption, by far. The money that gets changed here would absolutely boggle your mind. We're not talking like big steak dinner money. We're talking about beach house money. We're talking about private jet money. It is a profoundly corrupt state. It has completely been dominated by the Republican Party for the last since 1994. As part of that whole takeover shit, I was part of electing majorities and then supermajorities in the state when I was a Republican. One more thing I can do some penance for. But Pam Bondi being bought off by Donald Trump for $25,000 in a multi-million-dollar case, what does that tell you? It tells you she works cheap. It tells you she wanted to get bought. It tells you that when somebody like a Brian Ballard, I'm sure, facilitated that deal, when Brian Ballard hires her to represent Qatar or Meta or whomever, he knows she'll do what she's told to do. They bought her for $25,000, and she decided she wasn't going to prosecute Trump University's overt fraud. He was being found guilty in all these other states. $25,000. She works cheap. I always joke about the corruption in Florida. If you're gonna be corrupt in Florida, make the alien start with a B and not an M. But Pam Bondi decided her pathway back to relevancy, because she wanted to be governor for a while, but Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott sort of got in the way of that chessboard in Florida's enormously baroque and complex chain of whose turn is it next. It's a game that used to have some rules, but in Trump world, it doesn't anymore. She wanted to be governor. Didn't happen. Wanted to be U.S. Senator. Rick Scott got in the way. He had money, and she was never going to get past him. And so Pam Bondi became a lobbyist, became someone who put herself on Trump's radar back in 2020. And believe me, the superficiality of Donald Trump and the superficiality of Pam Bondi is a match made in heaven or hell. She is Attorney General, not because she has any particular legal acumen. She does not. She is not a great lawyer. I have talked to lawyers in Florida for years who said candidly she hires good staff to be good lawyers, or at least did in Florida. But her job is to go out in front of the cameras after the end of the prosecution and say, we have brought this terrible criminal to justice. So she put herself on Trump's radar. And Brian Ballard, from all accounts that I've heard, was very much the engineer, the Svengali of that whole show. They got her a booking agent, make sure she gets on Fox every couple of days during 2020. She goes out and remains an absolute loyalist to Donald Trump, even after he tries to overthrow our government in 2021 during the January 6th terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol. Like Giuliani, she is a blind defender of him. She will not budge at all. And he loves that. He loves that a lot. Fast forward. She's a surrogate during the whole 24 election. And again, there's nothing Trump can do or say that ever breaks Pam Bondi off of him, because she is ambitious, if nothing else. She's named Attorney General, not, again, because she's a great lawyer, but because she got a lot of media training, and I know who did it. I know exactly who did the media training. An old friend of mine. Hey, Daddy-O. You'll know if you know. And the person that media trained her is very good. She got a lot of media training, got a lot of hand-holding. She got a lot of Fox time. And that, as you may have noticed in this administration, you have to have one of two characteristics to be in the cabinet. You have to either have to be a billionaire idiot, or you have to be a frequent guest on Fox News. She was a frequent guest on Fox News. I mean, a lot. So the combination, in Trump's mind, of good on TV and utterly obedient and supine to his will is, in his eyes, perfection. This is his dream. Now, he had Bill Barr as AG. Leave aside the guy who invented the big dick toilet, Matthew Whitaker, or whatever the fuck he is, and some of these other clowns. And Jeff Sessions, the tiny dwarf Stephen Miller handler. But Bill Barr, in the first administration, even though he was absolutely dedicated to Trump in every way he could, he would scoot right up to the legal line. He wouldn't cross it. We found out 2 years later that in November of 2020, Donald Trump sent his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, to Bill Barr and said, I want you to go after the Lincoln Project. He sent Bill Barr all these opposition research files on us and all this information, setting up a big Justice Department hit job. Even Bill Barr, when he's ordered to take down the Lincoln Project from the Justice Department, even Bill Barr, mind you, says, nah, bro, we're not doing this. We're not playing this game. Not going to do it. Sorry. We're out. But Pam Bondi is not Bill Barr. Pam Bondi does not respect the law. QED, everything she did in 2020, or 2021, to try to overturn the election. QED, everything else she has done since then for the period in which Trump was running for president again and the period as president now. There's nothing she won't do that Trump tells her to. Now, this is an abrogation of the traditional role of the Attorney General. The Attorney General, for every other president before Trump, works for the people. They uphold the law. They uphold the Constitution. Pam Bondi does not believe in that at all. You can see by the orders she's issued through the DOJ since she's taken office that she views the DOJ as the president's law firm. She views the DOJ as Donald Trump's private prosecution force. She views the DOJ as a tool to enforce his will. And it's unsurprising that you see Pam Bondi out there every single day now in the media saying, oh, well, Abrigo Garcia is a rapist, killer, murderer. He's worse than bin Laden. He's the worst thing ever. He's a criminal mastermind. Of course, it's a lie.
Every American tonight should be thanking Donald Trump for making America safer by getting this guy out of our country. I'm going to call him a terrorist. So this illegal alien terrorist came into our country illegally. Jesse, when you're listening to all these liberal reporters, they keep calling him a Maryland man. He's not a Maryland man. He's part of a foreign terrorist organization. He's a member of MS-13. Maryland is safer because he is gone, and that woman that he is married to and that child he had with her, they are safer tonight because he is out of our country and sitting in El Salvador where he belongs.
And that's the third thing that has kept her in Trump's orbit, a willingness to lie at scale. Most attorney generals, even if you don't like what they're doing, and look, I had a lot of disagreements with Eric Holder at the time. I thought Eric Holder was pushing the relationship to the executive too far back then. And now I look at it and go, what the fuck? Like, oh, yeah, he went to a dinner where Bill Clinton was at. Oh, no. And remember at one point, the Republican freak out over Loretta Lynch seeing Bill Clinton. The freak out over that. They saw each other at an airport. The oh my God, she must be impeached and cast out of office. And now you've got Pam Bondi, who is the ultimate apparatchik, who controls the forward-facing idea in her department of that she's going to be out there front and center, that she's going to be Trump's legal spokesperson, that she's going to conform the DOJ, not to American law, not to court orders, but to Trump's will. That is an enormously dangerous person. You don't have to be smart to be dangerous. In fact, there are a lot of people who are very dumb, who are not smart people, who are more dangerous because they are not towering intellects. They're more dangerous because they will do what they're told. Pam Bondi will always do what she's told to do. The illegality of the things going on in the organizations below the level of the DOJ, in DHS, in Homeland overall, in the FBI, in the DEA, ATF, a whole bunch of other areas, right? Over which Pam Bondi will have at least some purview, some weigh in. Those organizations are currently engaged in widespread criminal behavior, including human trafficking and kidnapping. And Pam Bondi is at the top of that food chain. And you should keep an eye on the fact that she really doesn't have any sort of human emotion about the damage they're doing to individuals, or the damage they're doing to the law, or the damage they're doing to the legal system. Pam Bondi is a woman who once kidnapped a dog. It's a long story. You can look it up. It's on the Google. And she used to have this thing in cabinet meetings in Florida where she'd bring pets for adoption. And the Florida cabinet was at the time a very powerful institution. The governor was a member and 3 other members. Pam voted, I think, with the governor 97% of the time, some high order figure. She did that because she's good at following orders. She cared about adopting dogs more than she cared about the people of Florida. And now in Washington, she is a part of the Trump culture, of the Trump authoritarian organization, the Trump crime family, if you will, because she follows orders. And look, I know we're way past that point in America where we say, is this who you really are? This is who she really is. There's nothing about Pam Bondi that you would ever find surprising if you dug into her life. She's an odd duck. She's friendly with some people that you would be like, oh, why did she some Matt Gaetz? What the fuck is that about? There's a lot of stuff about Pam Bondi that you will find conforms with the weirdness of her behavior as AG. I'm not going to make this into the scurrilous gossip and rumor show today, but there are plenty of people who know where all the Pam Bondi bodies are buried. Some who don't like her. It won't take reporters long to start digging. They didn't bother to dig during the hearings. They didn't bother to dig during the Senate committees because there were a lot of people, including a lot of Republicans, who were skeptical behind closed doors, who said to me and people like me, well, Bondi's a normal one like Marco. She's going to be fine. She's a lawyer. She was AG in Florida. I mean, what could go wrong? Now, that's on them. That's their dumb fuckery. That's their intellectual and personal indifference to the consequences of their votes to confirm one of the highest and most important offices in the land. And like a lot of things right now, this is going to roll back around to the courts. Bondi is part of engineering, or her staff is. She's been told, engineer this defiance. And she said, yes, sir, and hired the right people and paying lawyers to do it. Bondi is part of a widespread campaign in the Trump administration right now to defy legal, appropriate court orders. She is part of this trying to reconfigure the relationship of power inside the constitutional system, where the executive is up here, the legislative branch and the judicial branch are afterthoughts. They are departments of the executive's will. They are the implementers only of the executive's will. That is the least conservative interpretation of how you should run a government that I can possibly conceive of. Bondi is a danger because she's obedient. Bondi is a danger because she is willing to shame herself and do anything in front of the cameras or off to make Trump happy. And people are going to say, I'm implying something there. I'm not implying that, what you're thinking. That's a whole nother person in the White House, and we know who that is too, don't we? That story is freaking tiresome too. And Susie Wiles is very angry and is trying everything she can to get that person removed from the orbit of Trump. But Pam Bondi will do what she's told. And the abuse of power in the hands of an attorney general willing to do the wrong thing is enormous. That risk is enormous. It is cataclysmic. So Pam Bondi will be the person in a month or 2 months or 10 months who goes in front of the cameras and says, well, the president has determined that these dangerous terrorists attacking Tesla dealerships by protesting peacefully are linked to the people who've done violent things. And they're so dangerous that we must remove them from this country and send them to CCOT, or CCOT 2, Electric Boogaloo, or CCOT 5, however many Trump wants Kelly to build.
I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right? It's not big enough.
She will go down in history as a fundamentally corrupt attorney general. She will go down in history as a fundamentally lawless attorney general. Now, look, Pam Bondi is not, again, a sophisticated legal thinker. Let's be very clear about this. No one who knows her believes Pam Bondi to have a rigorous intellectual view of the law. She is doing what she is told. She will twist and turn and break the law as much as she can to achieve the desired outcome for Donald Trump. She's a very dangerous person because she is obedient and not smart. Keep your eye on Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi is going to be on the enemies list for a long, long, long time. Hey, folks, be sure to tune in to my other podcast, the Lincoln Project podcast. You can also catch me on Substack at The Rick Wilson. You can also catch me on the socials at The Rick Wilson. The Lincoln Project also depends on your support to be out there pushing messages every day, setting the national narrative, fighting back against Trump. You can go to lincolnproject.us/helplp if you want to support the Lincoln Project. We're trying to make sure that we keep the pressure on Donald Trump in every way. You can subscribe to Lincoln Square over at Substack also. We do a million different things. We're the 1,000-armed god of political retribution against the Trump administration. So appreciate all your support, all your encouragement. I want to thank everybody for making this podcast one of the success stories this year. I want to thank you for making the Lincoln Project a success story this year. We're honored to have been nominated for a Webby Award for the Lincoln Project podcast. The voting is done on that by the time you hear this, but we've been very gratified with the response of everybody who reached out and said they supported us on that vote. It's a tough interview to do, but I think an important one. Anyway, listen, folks, we will be back next time on the enemies list. You will get another legal story on the enemies list next time. And we look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thanks.